Hey again, fifth graders. We are on page 7 of When You Reach Me, if you are tuning in for a read aloud today. And remember, the last thing that we read is that Mom has to win this money. She is going to be going on a game show, and our main character is helping her practice with words. We're not really sure what she has to do yet, but it is called the $20,000 Pyramid. This chapter is called Things You Hide. I was named after a criminal. Mom says that's a dramatic way of looking at things, but sometimes the truth is dramatic. The name Miranda stands for people's rights, she said last fall when I was upset because Robbie B. had told me during gym that I was named after a kidnapper. I had left my keys at school and waited 2.5 hours at Bell's Market on Amsterdam Avenue for Mom to get home from work. I didn't mind the waiting so much. I helped Belle out around the store for a while. And I had my book, of course. "Still reading that same book?" Belle asked, once I had settled into my folding chair next to the cash register to read. "It's looking pretty beat up." "I'm not still reading it," I told her. "I'm reading it again. I had probably read it 100 times, which is why it looked so beat up." "Okay," Belle said. "So let's hear something about this book. What's the first line?" "I never judge a book by the cover," she said. "I judge it by the first line." I knew the first line of my book without even looking. "It was a dark and stormy night," I said. She nodded. "Classic. I like that. What's the story about?" I thought for a second. "It's about a girl named Meg. Her dad is missing, and she goes on this trip to another planet to save him." "And? Does she have a boyfriend?" "Sort of," I said, "but that's not really the point." "How old is she?" 12. The truth is that my book doesn't say how old Meg is, but I'm 12, so she feels 12 to me. When I first got the book, I was 11, and she felt 11. "Oh, 12, Belle said. "Plenty of time for boyfriends, then. Why don't you start from the beginning?" "Start from the beginning?" "The story. Tell me the story from the beginning." So I started telling her the story of my book, not reading it to her, just telling her about it. Starting with the first scene where Meg wakes up at night afraid of a thunderstorm. While she listened, Belle made me a turkey sandwich and gave me about 10 chewable vitamin C's because she thought I sounded nasal. When she went to the bathroom, I sneaked a little bunch of grapes, which I love but can't ever have because Mom doesn't like the way the grape pickers are treated in California, and she refuses to buy them. When she finally got there, Mom hugged Belle and told her, "I owe you," like I was some repulsive burden instead of the person who had very helpfully unpacked 3 boxes of green bananas and scoured the refrigerated section for expired dairy items. Then Mom bought a box of strawberries, even though I know she thinks Belle's strawberries are overpriced and not very good. She calls them SSOs, which stands for strawberry-shaped objects. "Where did Robbie B. get the dumb idea that anyone would name her own granddaughter after a murderer?" Mom asked. Our building was still half a block away, but her key was already in her hand. Mom doesn't like to fumble around in front of the building looking like a target for muggers. "Not a murderer," I said, "a kidnapper. Robbie B.'s dad is a prosecutor. He says the Miranda warnings were named for a guy named Mr. Miranda who committed some horrible crime." "Is that true?" "Technically, maybe. The Miranda warnings are essential. You know, people need to know that they have the right to remain silent and the right to an attorney. What kind of justice system would we have without maybe meaning yes? And then there's Shakespeare. He invented the name Miranda, you know, for The Tempest." It made perfect sense now that I thought about it. Mom wanted to be a criminal defense lawyer. She started law school and almost finished her first year, but then I was born and she had to quit. Now she's a paralegal, except she works at a really small law office where she has to be the receptionist and the secretary, too. Richard is one of the lawyers. They do a lot of free work for poor people, sometimes even for criminals. But I never dreamed she would name me after one. Mom unlocked the lobby door, which is iron and glass, and must weigh 300 pounds, and she pushed hard to swing it open, her heels slipping on the tile floor. When we were inside, she leaned against the other side of the door until she heard the click. That means the lock has caught. When the door swings shut by itself, it usually doesn't lock, which drives Mom nuts and is one of the things the landlord won't fix. So, was he a kidnapper or not? I punched the button for the elevator. "Okay, you win," Mom said. "I named you after a monster, Mira. I'm sorry. If you don't like your name, you are welcome to change it." That was so Mom. She didn't understand the person gets attached to a person's name, that something like this might come as a shock. Upstairs, she threw her coat on a kitchen chair, filled a spaghetti pot with water, and put it on to boil. She was wearing an orange turtleneck and a denim skirt with purple and black striped tights. "Nice tights," I snorted, or I tried to snort anyway. I'm not exactly sure how, though. People in books are always doing it. She leaned against the sink and flipped through the mail. You already hassled me about the tights this morning, Mira. Oh. She was usually still in bed when I left for school, so I didn't get to appreciate her outfit until she got home from work. Nice nail polish, then. Her nails were electric blue. She must have done them at her desk that day. She rolled her eyes. Are you mad about waiting at Belle's? I was super busy. I couldn't just leave. No, I like it at Belle's. I wondered whether she'd done her nails before, after, or during her super busy afternoon. You could have gone to Sal's, you know. Sal and his mom Louisa live in the apartment below ours. Sal used to be my best friend. I said I like it at Belle's. Still, I think we should hide a key in the fire hose for the next time. So after dinner, we hid our spare key inside the nozzle of the dusty, folded-up fire hose in the stairwell. The hose is all cracked looking and about 100 years old, and Mom always says that if there's an actual fire, it will be of no use whatsoever, and we'll have to jump out of the window into the neighbor's garden. It's a good thing we live on the second floor. You asked me to mention the key. If I ever do decide to write your letter, which is I probably won't, this is the story I would tell. Next chapter is called The Speed Round. There are 2 parts to the $20,000 pyramid. Mom calls the first part the speed round because it's all about speed. Contestants try to make their celebrity partners guess 7 common words by giving clues. So if the first word is fork, a contestant might say, you use this to put food in your mouth, not a spoon, but If he has a brain, which Mom says he might not, the celebrity partner will say fork, and then there'll be a ding, and the next word will show up on a little hidden screen. Each team gets 30 seconds for 7 words. Then the little screens swivel around, and it's the celebrity's turn to give the clues, and the contestants' turn to guess. Another 7 words, another 30 seconds. Then the screens swivel back, and the contestants give the clues again. There was a possible 21 points in the speed round, and a perfect score earns a cash bonus of $2,100. But the most important thing is that just to beat the other team, because the team that wins the speed round goes to the winner's circle, and the winner's circle is where the big money is. There isn't a lot of time for practice tonight because it's a tenant meeting night. Once a month, the neighbors sit in our living room and complain while Mom takes notes in shorthand. Most people don't bother to come. It's always the old folks who don't get asked to go many places and are mad that there isn't more heat. Sal's mom, Louisa, works in a nursing home, and she says old people can never get enough heat. After the meetings, during which Mr. Nuncy has usually burned a new hole in our couch with a cigarette, Mom always writes a letter to the landlord and sends a copy to some city agency that's supposed to care whether we have hot water, if the lobby door locks, and that the elevator keeps getting stuck between floors, but nothing ever changes. Our doorbell is going to start ringing any minute. Mom is running through a few speed rounds with Richard while I make lemonade from frozen concentrate and open the Oreos. Louisa knocks her regular knock, and I answer the door with a plate of cookies. She takes an Oreo and sighs. She's wearing jeans and her white nurse shoes, which she kicks off by the door. She hates these meetings, but comes out of loyalty to Mom. And someone has to watch Mr. Nuncy's cigarette to make sure he doesn't accidentally set our apartment on fire. Lemonade? I ask. I refuse to play waitress during Mom's get-togethers, but I'll pour Louisa a drink anytime. Oh, lemonade sounds lovely. She follows me to the kitchen. Just as I put the glass in her hand, the doorbell buzzes for about a minute straight. Why do they have to hold the button down forever? Old people, Louisa says, as if she can read my mind. They're so used to being ignored. She grabs 2 more cookies and goes to answer the door. Louisa doesn't normally eat what she calls processed foods, but she says she could never get through a tenant meeting without Oreos. 15 minutes later, Mom is sitting on the living room floor, writing furiously as everyone takes turns saying that the elevator is dirty, there are cigarette butts on the stairs, and the dryer in the basement melted somebody's elastic waist pants. I lean against the wall in the hallway and watch her hold up one finger to signal Mrs. Beindocker to slow down. Once Mrs. Beindocker gets going, not even Mom's shorthand can keep up with her. Mom cried the first time she saw our apartment. The whole place was filthy, she says. The wood floors were practically black, the windows were caked with dirt, and the walls were smeared with something she didn't even want to think about. Always in those same words. I was there that day in a little bucket seat baby carrier. It was cold out, and she had a new coat on. There were no hangers in the closets, and she didn't want to put the coat down on the dirty floor or drape it over one of the peeling, hissing radiators. So she carried it while she went from room to room, telling herself, it wasn't so awful. At this point in the story, I used to try to think of some place she could have put her coat. If only she had thought of it. Why didn't you drape it over the rod in the hall closet, I'd ask. Dusty, she'd say. On the windowsill in the kitchen? dusty. What about over the top of the bedroom door? Couldn't reach, she'd say, and dusty. What Mom did say that day, almost 12 years ago, was put her coat back on, pick up my bucket seat, and walk to a store where she bought a mop, some soap, garbage bags, a roll of sticky shelf paper, sponges, and a bottle of window spray, and paper towels. Back home, she dumped everything out on the floor. Then she folded her coat and slid into the empty bag from the store. She hung the bag on a doorknob and cleaned the apartment all afternoon. I knew enough, she says, to snuggle down in my bucket seat and take a very long nap. She met Louisa, who didn't have a husband either, in the lobby on that first day. They were both taking garbage to the big cans out front. Louisa was holding Sal. Sal had been crying, but when he saw me, he stopped. I know all this because I had to ask to hear the story over and over. The story of the day I met Sal. Dun, dun, dun. The next chapter is called Things That Kick and begins with losing Sal was like a long list of bad things. We'll see who Sal is tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in.